No, we're on already.
So the May 28th, and we had this conversation yesterday. May 28th is for the primary runoffs.
Yeah, on both sides, Republican and Democratic side.
No doubt. The question I have though is there's so many elections, and you and I were laughing about it yesterday. We've voted so much in the last, oh,
The last 3-4 months. Because think about it, like since March 5th, since my election on March 5th, we voted, I think, three times, yeah.
And then there's another runoff election in June.
Coming up in June, yes.
So, how do people, not just me and you, like, it's difficult for, how do people keep track of how many elections are coming up and for what office?
Most people don't. I think that's a part of the problem. That's why turnout is so low. When you start analyzing these runoff elections and you see the voter turnout super low. So people don't people don't keep track of it.
That's difficult, bro.
Yeah.
There's so many elections to keep track of and for what office. And some of these offices, like, we voted what, last month? Was it for the HCAD stuff?
HCAD was that last month or was that March 5th?
No, that wasn't March 5th.
That was afterwards. And so the runoff is after.
That one's in June.
That one's in June. Yep. It's a lot of elections.
So May 28th, which we just voted for, is for what?
It's for your statewide positions.
So anyone that made a runoff in the March primary.
Anyone that made a runoff in the March primary is up right now on May 28th. So early voting was May 20th to the 24th, and election day is Tuesday, May 28th. But it's a good point. A lot of people don't know about this.
Don't know about what?
All of these elections and everything going on. It's hard to keep up. And then to now do the research of, okay, well, what does this mean for all of these things? I think that's always a critique that people have, right? It's like there are all of these elections, but how do I know what I'm voting for if I'm even going to go vote?
That's right.
But then now, me being a candidate, I have a perspective as well, right? Because I may want you to know about what's going on with me, but I don't have enough money to send out flyers or to send out mailers for you to know who I am. So I can understand a different perspective now after being a candidate. It's not that I don't want you to know, but it's not that I want you to be uneducated about what's going on, but I don't have the money to educate you.
And are most of these, are they partisan or non-partisan? So the ones that
it depends. So your county commissioners are partisan.
Well, I'm talking about the runoffs that we have coming up in May 28th. Are they partisan or non-partisan? I guess they are.
They're partisan because you said, sorry, what am I saying? It's a Democratic primary runoff.
Yeah. I'm about to check myself and be like, stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it is partisan. Because I'm trying to think of, like, there were 3 separate offices that we voted for.
So yesterday.
They were tax assessor, 14th Court of Appeal, place 3. No. Yeah, place 3.
Place 3.
Then district judge, 486th judicial district. And then county tax assessor.
Right. And that's just Harris County. That's just because of where we live. But now there are other areas that have even more runoffs. But talking about runoffs, there's some controversy with these runoffs because you have some people that are running in these runoff elections so for example, you have some Republican areas where you have, let's say, a far-right Republican that's running against the current incumbent Republican that I would label them as also very conservative, but the only difference really between the person that's running as the incumbent and the person that's in the runoff is the person that's running as the incumbent is against school vouchers. In many of these cases.
And maybe I'm wrong, but is Dade falling into that too, or no? Or is that...
Dade's is a little bit more complicated, and Dade Phelan is the Speaker of the House, and he is out of Beaumont, Southeast Texas, Jefferson County.
Is
his is May 28th.
And why are you saying it's a little different for him?
Because he's the Speaker of the House, so the critique against him is that his is a little bit more nuanced, that he's not guiding the House in a true conservative way, because he's allowing for Democrats to be chairs of committees, and that real Republican priorities he's not on board with, which isn't really true. That's just the talking point of those that are further right to him, because at the end of the day, he's a conservative Republican through and through. Nowhere close to what a Democratic chair or a Democratic speaker ideally would be doing in the House at all, not even close. And so the controversy is people that live in an area with a Republican House member or with a Republican state senator. Do you vote in that Republican primary to save the incumbent Republican that isn't as crazy as the challenger to the incumbent Republican that's in office? That's really a part of the conversation right now.
But also and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I voted in the Democratic primary in March, I can't vote in this runoff, even if I wanted to help a Republican. I think the answer to that is no.
I believe the answer to that is no. I think you have to wait until the next election to be able to switch affiliation. Does that make sense? So you have to wait until because this is still technically a part of the same cycle. I don't think that you're able to flip. Voters can't switch parties if they want to vote in a subsequent runoff election.
Yeah, so if you vote in the Democratic primary March 5th, then you can't vote for the Republican in their runoff.
Can't.
Yeah.
So what do you think about people so in this situation, you had people that were Democrats or people that would consider themselves independents that traditionally don't vote in primaries, but they said, because of what I'm dealing with in my county or because of what I'm dealing with in terms of the legislature, I'm going to go vote in a Republican primary so that we don't get one of the crazy Republicans in office, that we keep the person that we have because of vouchers. And so now they would vote in the runoff again for the person that is currently in office that's quote unquote anti-voucher.
Yeah, it's a really hard question for me to answer. I think it's a hard one because I can see the dilemma that people would be in. It's kind of, I don't know how the saying goes, but like, better the devil I know than the devil I don't know. And so I know that my crazy current Republican is a little wild, but I know how he's going to handle things. I've already, experienced what he's going to do. The other dude is already saying some craziness that he's going to be for vouchers, all of that. I'd rather help my person that I know who's still bad, but over the other person. So I can understand an argument if someone makes that, like, I voted in this Republican primary to help this person. My bigger problem with that, though, is you're only hurting your party by doing that, because when they run numbers, and everyone does, they're going to say, I don't know, Jefferson County gained 80 more Republican voters. And that's your party looks like they're losing a stronghold, or they're losing something in this county, when it's not true. You just switched parties to go help somebody. So in the long run, you're not helping your party either by doing that. And so if we want to start winning elections, we got to start helping our own party instead of focusing on the Republicans.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it is.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, voting for the. So if I'm voting for the normal Republican and I'm a Democrat, doing that. So what you just laid out makes it seem as if there are only two options: the crazy Republican or the normal Republican. But that's not true. There are really three options. There's the normal Republican, again, quote, because I don't believe that they're normal. But there's the normal Republican, there's the crazy Republican, and then there is the Democrat.
But if no Democrat wants to run, then you're stuck with the two.
That's a scenario, right? If there is no Democrat on the ballot.
Yeah, there's no
But
Democrat on the ballot.
but then there are certain scenarios where there is a Democrat on the ballot. And people are still voting in the Republican primary because they're saying based off of percentages, it's not likely that the Democrat wins. But you never end up helping the Democrat win in that area if you're helping out the Republicans in their primary.
I agree, because if I do have a desire to be a Democrat in my area, but I know that you guys are going to leave me hanging to go support a Republican, why would anyone ever want to run as a Democrat?
Yeah.
No?
Yes. Yes, because people are going to feel like, well, if the Republican has this much support, then there's no need for me to run. Even though that I don't like that logic, but that's something that it makes sense for people to think that if you're just analyzing the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, you say just the numbers, but I think it's a culture. If I know that you can't win, I'm not going to support you. Even though you may be aligned with my values, aligned with what I believe, I don't think you can win, so I'm going to go vote for someone else that can win, even though they may not align with anything I got going on.
Yeah. It's just a bad idea to try to save them. Burn it all down. That's my perspective. Burn it all down. Let the Republican Party do whatever they do. Don't go in there and try to save them. Because the person that's, let's say, for vouchers, right, and that's for all that other stuff, really is not that different than the incumbent. The only difference is that one issue. It's the one issue. So they're for Operation Lone Star. They're for not holding corporations accountable. They're for not making sure that people have childcare. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. So I'm not for saving that party at all. Democrats should not be going into Republican primaries. Let's fix our side of the house. We have enough going on. And we're saving folks that didn't come and save us. It's been 30 years. They didn't come and save us. They didn't give us the benefit of the doubt. Oh, well, I know that y'all Democrats, I know who y'all really are. I'm gonna stay with you. No, the Republican Party said this is our agenda for the state of Texas, and this is what we're gonna do.
They say that we did come and save y'all by not passing school vouchers.
No, no, and those rural Republicans that ended up deciding to not be for school vouchers, you got to give them a lot of credit. But the idea of saving us, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that they saved us. That's too broad of a statement. Saved us. It's been 30 years that we've been dealing with problems in our state from the Republican Party. I don't believe in saving us. Yes, they held a stance on education, which I appreciate, but that's not saving us. Look at everything our state is going through with those people in office. That's my point. Those people have been in office, and Texas is going through what it's going through. If you're not a multimillionaire in the state, you're struggling. It's not easy. Some way, shape, or form. It's not easy. And they're not trying to make it easier. Look at the priorities of the Republican Party. They're not trying to make it easier for you. So why are we then going to go and save them? It doesn't make any sense.
I think the strongest argument I've heard from you right now has been, in my opinion, has been they only differ from that other guy on the one issue, right? They're still the ones that are going to push the show me your paper law, right? The immigration thing, deport anyone.
The racial profiling immigration bill.
People will be like, it's not racial profiling, but yes.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, they're the ones that support that. They're the ones that have been supporting more restrictive healthcare for women. Um, they're the ones that have fought for
All of that stuff.
like all yeah.
All of it. All of it. The reason why billionaires in the state pay 10% less in taxes than your everyday person is because of these people. The reason why we don't have a legit health insurance system in Texas is because of these people. Why families struggle with childcare in Texas is because of these people. All across the board.
So for you, it's let them figure this out.
Let them figure it out. Let them figure it out. We have our own stuff to take care of. Why is it that we have the longest drought in the country, 30 years, without winning one statewide office? And you like to say it's not just senator or governor, it's Supreme Court, it's railroad commissioner, it's all of the above. What are we spending our time doing in the Republican primary? We got a lot to take care of. And we know by traveling the state that our brand is broken across Texas. People don't have any trust in the Democratic Party. So let's focus on that.
So I guess the biggest problem is some people on March 5th, some people did not vote in the Democratic primary.
Yes.
That could have voted in the Democratic primary.
Yes.
Because they were helping a Republican in the Republican primary.
Yes. And let me just be clear. I understand the perspective of those that did that. I completely understand the perspective. These are the two options. I don't want the crazy guy coming in who may win, and then now our education system in our county is going to be messed up, or in our town is going to be messed up. That can cost us jobs. I get that. My point is, it's a marginal difference. It's a marginal, because at the end of the day, that person, that Republican, if Greg Abbott tells them, you are going to do these 5 things, it's not even if, we see it. When Greg Abbott lays out his priorities, they're not pushing back on that.
I mean, that's not fair. I don't think that's fair because people pushed back on vouchers. Greg Abbott said that that's his issue. I need school vouchers yesterday. I'm holding up everything. How many special sessions in the due call?
Yeah.
And these Republicans held their own and said, I'm not voting for it. So you gotta.
Well, I was gonna finish. And what I was gonna say is they pushed back on one thing. If I live in a county right now that doesn't have a hospital, doesn't have a doctor, where's the pushback? Governor, my county doesn't have a doctor. Where's the pushback? If I live in a county that's a childcare desert, there's nowhere for me to take my child whenever I'm going to work. Or I'm at work, my child is at school, there's no childcare center for them to stay until I get off. Where's the pushback to Greg Abbott?
I don't, maybe it doesn't make sense to me, but you're not, those two things don't, is Greg Abbott saying, I don't want hospitals? Is Greg Abbott saying, I don't want childcare? That's when you say pushback.
Yeah. Let me lay out what pushback means. Governor, these priorities that you have are not the priorities of my area. My area is struggling. My area doesn't have a doctor. My area doesn't have a childcare provider. People in my area make on average $30,000 a year. Why aren't we focusing on those priorities? That, to me, is what pushback looks like. The priorities are wrong, Governor. This is what we should be doing. Not doing this stuff for Newsmax. Not doing this stuff for Fox News.
Yeah. But going back to the question I was going to ask is, what do you tell people that want to be involved in the political process in their area? But to what we're saying, no Democrat is there, do you say just sit it out and work on your party?
Yeah. That's what my advice would be. I think that there's a legitimate argument that can be made for not voting for a Republican on the ballot. If you feel like the Republican isn't doing a good job. So an example of this is Glenn Rogers in Palo Pinto County. He lost his primary race because of vouchers. He's been complaining now about how extreme the Republican Party is. But vouchers was the only thing that he really provided pushback on. He was on board with everything else. So if you feel like Glenn Rogers wasn't doing a good job, but now because someone that's just a little bit crazier than Glenn Rogers is running against him, and now we're going to say we're going to keep Glenn Rogers in office, you're keeping in office someone that you don't think is doing a good job anyway. So I think there's a legitimate argument to sitting out if you feel like the person that you're voting for isn't a good elected official for your area.
Yeah, and all you're saying is sit out the primaries.
I'm saying sit out the primaries. As Democrats, we have to start drawing a line in the sand in Texas. We have to. We have to say enough is enough.
When we were traveling, we heard so many people say, my friend wanted to run for office and they ran as a Republican, even though they're a lifelong Democrat.
Because they felt like that was the only way for them to get elected.
Which is what we're saying here is, there's no incentive for me to run as a Democrat in this area if the Democratic Party is not going to help me. I don't have the votes to win here.
But I think you're even taking it a couple steps further. There's no incentive for me to run as a Democrat in my area if the Democrats are voting for Republicans in their primary.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
I might as well stay at home.
So all that to say, May 28th.
May 28th.
Everyone has a bunch of different people.
Everyone
in Harris County, or at least where we live, we had 3 people.
And I'm happy to hear people's, like when people listen to this, I'm really interested in hearing people's pushback and their perspective on it. Like I want to hear the different perspectives. But I do think that if we are Democrats in a state that hasn't won in the last 30 years, we really need to be focused on building up our own party instead of trying to save a party that is burning down. And that at best, the person that we are trying to save in our area is going to be 5 to 7% better.
Do you see a world where the Republican that is saved by Democrats then becomes grateful and does more Democratic things? I don't even know if that makes sense, but like, let's use Glenn Rogers. For example, had he been saved by Democrats who switched and voted in that Republican primary, would he then be like, well, these are the people that helped me get reelected. Now I should probably listen to their needs more than I was previously?
It depends. There are a lot of variables that, to me, kind of dictate how somebody starts moving after they win an election with help from the other party. I'm more likely to listen to what Democrats have to say if I'm in an area where I won 53-47 than I am if I'm in an area where I won 80-20.
Yeah, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Democrats were voting in the Republican primary on 80-20 split. I think they were voting with people. They were voting for people that it was super, super close.
In that primary, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. In that primary, that's when they were voting for them. So most of them probably won 51. Like if you won 51-49, you're super grateful for any of the Democrats that voted for you because you probably wouldn't have won anyway without them.
You're grateful internally, but you're not grateful externally.
That's what I'm saying. Would they be grateful externally?
Now I understand what you're saying. That if Democrats come and help you in the Republican primary, are you going to be grateful for them whenever you win your primary and then you win your general election?
Right.
The answer is no. They will not be grateful.
Okay. That was the question I asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
They will not be grateful.
Wholesale, why?
Wholesale, because I won my Republican primary 51-49, 52-48. That then led me to go into a general election where I know I'm going to win 75-25. it means that the Democrats' power in this area is not strong. There's no need for me to consider what they have to say.
Even though they helped you win your primary.
Yeah, but what does that matter at the end of the day whenever I won that primary and now I'm in the general election and I'm winning 75-25? And it doesn't look good for them too. No Republican, let me tell you this right now. No Republican is going to come out on TV and say, I'm grateful for the Democrats that voted in the Republican primary for me. We can make a bet right now. I guarantee you none of them will say that. It doesn't look good. And it makes the point that the person that's running against them is making. That this person is really a Republican in name only. They're really a Democrat. And oh yeah, now the Democrats are coming and helping them. We need real conservative Republicans. If you're one of those people, what you're trying to do is make sure that the next time you run, you don't have 49% of people in the Republican primary vote against you.
If you're woke people.
If you're, let's say in this situation, you're the Republican that's the incumbent. You want 51% to your challenger's 49%. In the primary, your thought process is, how do I find a way to make sure that 49% of people in my party don't vote for my opponent in the primary? It's not, I'm going to go help out the Democrats. I'm playing for the Democrats. It's no, I need to double down and make sure that I don't deal with this again. Does that make sense? Anything else?
No, you. Do you have any in this primary on the 28th? Is there anyone that you are actively supporting? Is there someone that you're excited about, that you're surprised at, or that they're in a runoff?
There are a couple people that I'm actively supporting. You have Kendrick Jones, Commissioner Kendrick Jones out of Waller County. He's been a real great commissioner in Waller County, supporting him. He's in a runoff, so we got to get him over the line on the 28th. We have Desiree Broadnax running for Harris County tax assessor. She's in a runoff. We have Diane Simmons, House District 97. So that's in the Fort Worth area, in a runoff. So those are some of the people that are in runoffs that I'm actively supporting, trying to make sure that they get over the line.
Anyone you're surprised is in a runoff that you don't think should have been in a runoff?
Yeah, Commissioner Kendrick Jones in Waller County. He's done a great job as commissioner. That's the great thing about democracy. Anybody can run. But when you have a guy like that, that's running like that, that's doing a good job for his community, he shouldn't be in a runoff. So that's, yeah, on the 20, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that's running that we should be voting for. Well, I'm not in Waller County, so I can't vote for her.
They'll get into voter fraud.
Yeah. There goes Tchenko. I told you trying to find his way into rigging these elections.
They're not saying that there's no voter fraud.
Right. And Jerry Zimmer, 14th Court of Appeals, place 3. He's done a really good job in that seat. Whenever he got into that seat, the backlog cases on average are taking 15 months to get processed. Now they're taking 30 to 60 days. And he's also developed a tool, a voter education tool, so that different organizations and clubs are able to actually understand what judicial candidates are supposed to do. So that's the 4th person that I would say is Jerry Zimmer. Jerry Zimmer, 14th Court of Appeals, place 3. Incumbent Commissioner Kendrick Jones, Waller County. Then you have Desiree Broadnax, Harris County tax assessor, and then Diane Simmons, State House District 97, up in Fort Worth.
97.
So that's what we have. Anything else? Primary runoffs. Have you voted yet?
Yeah, we voted yesterday.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure. I'm trying to make sure. So May 28th, runoffs. Democrats, don't go voting in these Republican primaries.
Don't do it.
Republicans, y'all can figure things out for yourselves. Y'all figure it out. Y'all got to deal with all that stuff over there. Independents, please vote for the Democrat in November.
Episode on that.
Yeah. Anybody else we should be addressing?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you for hopping in. Politically Incorrect. What number episode is this? Episode 2. Texas primary runoffs. It's a wrap.